Buckingham Palace has been thrown into chaos after Prince William quietly approved a major title change for Duchess Sophie's children, Lady Louise and James. The decision, made without public fanfare, has shocked insiders and raised serious questions about royal hierarchy, power dynamics, and the future of the monarchy. The secret decision that shook Buckingham Palace. Everything changed when Prince William quietly approved a title change for Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, the children of Duchess Sophie and Prince Edward. The news didn't arrive through a grand royal announcement. It leaked out in whispers across the palace, first confusing staff, then shocking even senior aides. This wasn't just a subtle adjustment. It was a power move that caught the entire royal establishment off guard. The decision reportedly came through sometime in mid-2025, and by the time courtiers understood what had happened, it was already done. One insider described the moment as a quiet detonation. Until now, changes like this typically came from the monarch, not the heir. That William made this call, and that it was reportedly approved without pushback from Charles, raised immediate eyebrows. A source close to the palace noted, "It wasn't just what William did, it was how he did it." No warning, no discussion. That's what rattled people. It exposed a surprising truth. William is already pulling strings behind the scenes, shaping the royal family in ways few expected. This title change wasn't about publicity. It was a deliberate shift in power, one that placed him at the center of decisions that traditionally belonged to the reigning monarch. And this wasn't a minor detail. It affects the public identity, position, and perception of two royal children who've remained mostly out of the spotlight. Almost overnight, the palace became a pressure cooker. There were hurried meetings, hushed phone calls, and a noticeable increase in tension among royal aides. The British press picked up hints from leaked memos and off-the-record tips. Sunday tabloids ran vague headlines like "Royal Youth Titles Under Review." But within royal circles, everyone knew this was already done. The move was bold. Some called it progressive, others reckless. But no one doubted it was a sign of William's growing grip on royal decision-making. Now, with this one move, William has sent a message, not just to the public, but to the palace itself. The future is his, and it's coming faster than anyone thought. It was a quiet storm, one insider whispered. No one saw it coming. But now, everything's different. Understanding the current titles, what Louise and James hold now. Before this major decision, Lady Louise Windsor, now 21, and her younger brother James, 17, held titles that were modest by royal standards. Louise was styled as Lady, and James, following the death of Prince Philip and the promotion of his father Edward to Duke of Edinburgh, became known as the Earl of Wessex. But here's the twist. Both Louise and James were, by royal law, eligible to be called Her Royal Highness Princess Louise and His Royal Highness Prince James from birth. So why weren't they? It goes back to a 2001 decision made by Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. At the time, the couple requested that their children not use HRH or princely titles to give them a more normal life. It was considered a progressive move, keeping the kids out of the media frenzy that surrounded other royals. The public saw it as modest and relatable. For years, this worked. Louise and James lived relatively low-profile lives, appearing only occasionally at major royal events. But the titles they hold today are more symbolic than powerful. As non-working royals, Louise and James hold no official public duties. Their titles don't come with funding, and they have no taxpayer support. Yet, they're still members of the royal family by blood and by status. That's where the complexity begins. Unlike Prince George, Princess Charlotte, or Prince Louis, who are styled with full HRH titles and are set for public royal roles, Louise and James have lived in a gray area, born royal but not truly titled. And until recently, it seemed like that would never change. Even when Louise turned 18 in 2021, she declined the opportunity to upgrade her title. Now, with William's approval, that balance is shifting. A title change reopens the debate about how royalty is defined in the 21st century, and whether the younger generation, especially those who stayed quiet and respectful, deserve the recognition they were once denied. Their parents wanted to shield them, one royal expert explained, but maybe William sees that it's time they step into the light. What exactly? William approved. The proposed new titles. So, what exactly did Prince William approve behind closed doors? According to insider reports from mid-2025, the future king greenlit an internal plan to officially elevate Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, to their full birthright royal titles: Her Royal Highness Princess Louise of Edinburgh and His Royal Highness Prince James of Edinburgh. These are not new creations. They're titles they've technically held since birth under the 1917 Letters Patent, issued by King George V, which allows the male-line grandchildren of a monarch to be called prince or princess. The difference now is recognition. Until now, these titles were never used publicly. But with William's nod, the palace is reportedly preparing to make these designations official, including the HRH styling, which signals full royal status. This move could mean formal adjustments in the court circular, updated listings on the royal family website, and even new responsibilities down the line. One source revealed, this wasn't a case of making something up. It's about acknowledging what's already there. William believes it's time. But the timing is everything. The approval comes at a critical moment. James recently turned 17, and Lady Louise is now 21. Both are at key ages where adult roles are often defined. It's expected the formal change could be announced either just before or shortly after James turns 18 in December 2025, aligning with royal tradition and signaling a potential new chapter for the siblings. However, questions remain. Will they be required to perform public duties? Will they receive royal funding? And will their titles come with expectations or just recognition? Sources say William has attached no obligations to the change for now, allowing both Louise and James the choice to embrace or decline the roles, depending on their comfort and future plans. Legally, the decision rests on existing letters patent, so no new law is needed. Just the palace's public confirmation. This keeps things neat and avoids triggering a parliamentary debate or constitutional complication. That said, the use of HRH titles comes with heightened public scrutiny, especially in an age where the monarchy faces increasing pressure to justify its relevance and cost. Still, this isn't just about names or status. It's a strategic move. William is building a future-ready monarchy. By bringing respected, low-drama figures like Louise and James into the spotlight, he signals a shift away from the chaos of recent years and toward stability, loyalty, and quiet strength. It's not about privilege, one insider said. It's about preserving a legacy with the right people at the table. And that leads us to a much bigger question. Why now? Why these two? And what exactly is William trying to fix or build with this move? Motivations behind the move. Why William did it. On the surface, this title upgrade might seem like a simple gesture, but behind it is Prince William's broader vision for the monarchy, a vision that's been quietly developing since Queen Elizabeth II's death in 2022. According to insiders, William sees the future of the royal family as smaller, smarter, and more strategic. Every move is now calculated, not just for tradition, but for long-term survival. So why Louise and James? Because they represent stability and loyalty. They've never been involved in scandal. They've shown up at royal events with dignity, kept their personal lives private, and, perhaps most importantly, they're not controversial figures. In an era when other royals, like Prince Andrew and Prince Harry, have brought heavy baggage, William is investing in safe bets. Another reason? Family unity. There's long been quiet talk about a growing gap between the Waleses and the Wessexes. William's move is seen as a gesture of respect and recognition toward Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, who have been quietly loyal to the crown, taking on more public duties in recent years. By extending formal titles to their children, William is essentially saying, "You matter. You're part of this." There's also the optics. Royal watchers have increasingly called out inconsistencies in title usage. If George, Charlotte, and Louis are full HRHs, and Archie and Lilibet are in the headlines about theirs, why not Louise and James, who have done nothing wrong and stayed completely respectful? This change puts William on the right side of public perception. It makes the monarchy look more fair, less political, and more focused on service than drama. One source close to the future king explained, "William is thinking 20 years ahead. Who will be standing beside him then?" That's what this is about. Lastly, it's also a subtle clapback to critics. The palace has been under pressure for lacking young working royals. With Harry gone and Charles slimming things down, there's a void. Louise and James could fill that space, not as headline-grabbing figures, but as reliable background strength, showing up for royal causes without the chaos. So, while the public sees a title shift, William sees a chess move, one that strengthens his position, honors loyal family members, and reshapes the monarchy's future without shaking the foundation. He's not playing the old game, one royal staffer shared. He's rewriting the board. Now the question is, will Louise and James accept the titles, or will they choose to walk a different path entirely? The parents' choice, Edward and Sophie's past decisions. This move by Prince William may feel new to the public, but for Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, it reopens a deeply personal decision made over 2 decades ago. Back in 2003, shortly after the birth of their daughter, Lady Louise Windsor, Edward and Sophie made a rare and bold choice. They declined the use of HRH titles for their children, even though royal law allowed it. Their reasoning? Simple: a normal childhood. At the time, Sophie told the press, "We try to bring them up with the understanding they are very likely to have to work for a living." It was a modern human decision, meant to shield Louise and later James, born in 2007, from the pressures and expectations that had overwhelmed many royals before them. The arrangement seemed to work. The children were styled as Lady and Viscount, not Princess or Prince. They attended regular schools, kept low profiles, and appeared at public events occasionally, but never as frontline royals. Even when Louise turned 18 in November 2021, she had the legal right to adopt the title of princess, but chose not to. That moment, now in hindsight, was a turning point. It signaled her alignment with her parents' vision, or perhaps a reluctance to step into the public eye. Now, with William's approval changing the playing field, that earlier choice is being quietly renegotiated. Sources say that before the decision was finalized, William held private discussions with both Edward and Sophie. It wasn't forced. It was a collaborative agreement, but one that required them to rethink the future they imagined for their children. According to one insider, Sophie was hesitant. She still wanted them to have choices, but William made it clear. This was about recognition, not pressure. The idea was not to draft Louise and James into full-time royal duties, but to give them the respect they earned simply by being born into the House of Windsor and doing everything right so far. This title change doesn't erase the past, but it reframes it. What was once a firm no is now a maybe, and potentially a yes. For Edward and Sophie, it may feel bittersweet. They fought to keep their children out of the spotlight, and now the spotlight is quietly returning. They made the decision to protect their kids, a royal aide said. But times change, and now the family needs them. What comes next depends not just on titles, but whether Louise and James are ready to step into the roles that are finally being acknowledged. Royal precedents. What history tells us. Changing royal titles is not common, but it's also not unheard of. In fact, the British monarchy has a long, complicated history of shifting titles based on politics, public image, and royal need. So while William's move may seem bold, it does fall within the boundaries of tradition, just not one used often. The most important precedent comes from King George V's 1917 letters patent, which standardized the use of HRH and Prince, Princess titles. According to that document, all children of a monarch's sons are entitled to royal styling. That's why Louise and James were eligible in the first place. But what William has done, activating those titles after years of silence, has few modern comparisons. One partial precedent happened in 2012, when Queen Elizabeth II issued a new letters patent, ensuring that all children of Prince William would be styled as Prince or Princess, not just the eldest. This change was made to prepare for Princess Charlotte's birth, so she wouldn't be titled differently than her brother George. That decision showed that titles can be adjusted to fit modern values, and that monarchs or heirs apparent can intervene when needed. Another example? Prince Edward himself. He was given the Earl of Wessex title in 1999, a break from the tradition of dukedoms, and later elevated to Duke of Edinburgh in 2023 after his father's death. These moments show that the royal family is not rigid, but strategic. Titles are tools. However, history also shows the risks. Past title changes have stirred tension. When Princess Diana lost her HRH after the divorce in 1996, it became a deeply emotional and very public symbol of her separation from the royal fold. Even Prince Harry and Meghan's children became the center of a title storm, especially after Queen Elizabeth's death in 2022, when the rules technically changed. But public opinion remained divided. William's approval, while legally sound, still touches those same nerves. There's always a danger that people will see favoritism, inconsistency, or even political maneuvering. As one royal historian noted, every time a title is granted or taken away, it tells the public something. It's never just a name. In this case, the signal is clear. William is shaping the next chapter, and he's doing it by choosing who gets to carry the crown's legacy into the future. Impact on the line of succession and royal hierarchy. The recent decision to grant HRH titles to Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, hasn't changed the official line of succession, but it's absolutely stirred up the royal hierarchy. As of October 2025, James holds the 15th spot, and Louise the 16th, behind figures like Prince Edward, Princess Anne, and Prince Harry. But titles, especially in the British monarchy, aren't just about order, they're about influence, status, and visibility. For years, Louise and James were perceived as background royals, polite, well-raised, but largely out of sight. Their styling as Lady and Earl kept them in the shadows, while their cousins carried the weight and glamour of HRH Prince and Princess. Now, that dynamic is changing, subtly but significantly. Their elevation to HRH status automatically boosts their standing within royal protocol. Whether it's seating at formal events, order of precedence, perception, they're now walking in a different tier of royal life. There's already quiet discomfort behind palace doors. Figures like Princess Anne, who famously declined titles for her children despite decades of loyal service, may privately question the move. And among Prince Harry's supporters, there's growing unease. After all the noise surrounding Archie and Lilibet's titles, why is this change happening so quietly and so smoothly for Louise and James? The royal family says it's about birthright and timing. But critics argue it's a sign of selective recognition based on who's in favor at the moment. A courtier reportedly described the mood inside Buckingham Palace as watchful. No one is openly objecting, but some are recalculating where they now stand. It's not just about what number you are in the line, the source added. It's about how visible your title makes you to the public and to the crown. The timing couldn't be more strategic. With James approaching his 18th birthday in December and Louise stepping into early adulthood, the title change puts them in a position to step up if needed. It doesn't mean they'll become full-time working royals, but it does mean they now carry formal recognition that positions them to serve, represent, or retreat, with far more flexibility and weight than before. Titles don't change the bloodline, said one royal analyst, but they absolutely change how that bloodline is treated. Now that the shift has occurred, the question becomes, how will Louise and James use their elevated position? Will they step forward, or will the titles remain symbolic gestures in a new era of a tighter, more controlled monarchy? Public reaction and media storm. The moment news leaked that Prince William had quietly approved HRH titles for Lady Louise and James, the reaction was immediate and intense. It didn't come with a formal press release or royal statement. Instead, the story started through subtle briefings to select media, then caught fire across tabloids and social platforms. Within 48 hours, hashtags like #PrincessLouise and #PrinceJames were trending across TikTok, X, and Instagram. For royal fans who've always admired the Wessex family for their discretion and dignity, this felt like justice. Support poured in, praising William's decision to recognize the loyalty and low-drama character of Edward and Sophie's children. Finally, the quiet ones get their due, one royal fan page posted, gaining thousands of likes in hours. The general mood among traditional royal watchers was that this move restored balance, a correction to years of underappreciation. But not everyone agreed. Critics pointed to the inconsistency. Why grant titles to two largely unseen royals while simultaneously claiming to be slimming down the monarchy? Others raised the issue of equity. Princess Anne's children didn't get titles. Harry's kids were told it wasn't the time. Why now, and why these two? Asked a well-known commentator on national television. The press quickly picked up the debate. Some outlets spun it as a soft power move by William to reward quiet loyalty over scandal, while others accused him of favoritism. Editorials questioned whether William, as heir and not monarch, should even be making these types of calls, even if King Charles had quietly backed the decision. Inside the palace, there was silence. No official denial. No formal announcement. Just a calculated non-response, a method often used by the firm to keep control of the story. But royal insiders began gently pushing a message through unnamed sources. This wasn't about expansion. It was about acknowledging rightful titles already allowed under royal law. The tone of the media storm soon split in two directions. Traditional outlets applauded the move as a way to bring dignity and modern recognition to the next generation of royals. Meanwhile, more critical voices argued this was the beginning of another internal divide, especially with the already fragile relationships between the Waleses and the Sussexes hanging in the balance. It's a reminder that even quiet decisions can cause loud reactions, one royal editor noted. And in 2025, the public doesn't stay quiet anymore. As headlines continue to swirl and the story refuses to die down, all eyes are now on Louise and James themselves. Will they emerge publicly with their new titles? Or will they remain as silent as the palace that elevated them? Future roles, duties, and expectations for Louise and James. With their HRH titles now approved, attention is on what Lady Louise and Prince James of Edinburgh will do next. Will they step forward as working royals or keep to private life? So far, no formal duties have been announced, but insiders say discussions are quietly underway. Louise, 21, recently graduated from St. Andrews and has shown growing comfort at royal events. Sources say she may take on youth or environmental engagements. James, turning 18 in December 2025, is still in school, but seen as a strong candidate for future duties, if he chooses. They're unlikely to receive public funding under King Charles's slimmed-down monarchy, though support may be given for select engagements. With new titles come increased public attention, and Louise especially values her privacy. There's still a chance either may decline the status altogether, but William likely sought quiet agreement first. For now, the roles are undefined, but the pressure is real. This isn't just a title change, a royal source said. It's a fork in the road for them and for the monarchy. The stakes for William's reign. Prince William's decision to approve HRH titles for Louise and James isn't just symbolic. It's a clear sign he's already shaping the monarchy. He's placing value on loyalty, discretion, and stability over headlines or controversy. By elevating two quiet royals, he signals that future leadership will rest on character, not just bloodline. But the move comes with risks. Critics argue it contradicts King Charles's vision of a slimmed monarchy and may reignite debates about favoritism. If Louise and James accept the spotlight, it could strengthen William's inner circle of trusted royals. If not, the move may appear hollow. Either way, the decision sets a new precedent, one that shows William is acting now, not waiting. Some insiders believe this is just the beginning. Will there be further changes for other royals as they come of age? William isn't playing catch-up, said one aide. He's already leading, one move at a time. What happens next will shape not just Louise and James's future, but William's legacy as the future King of England. This unexpected move by William is more than a title tweak. It's a clear signal that the next generation of royals is taking shape under his leadership. Whether Louise and James accept or reject their elevated status, one thing is certain: the monarchy is evolving, and the change is already shaking the palace.